A monstrous claw lashed out, threatening a fatal strike. The man struggled to defend himself, his powers flaring. He unleashed a powerful blast, pushing the creature back. But the force of his own magic sent him sprawling. He was astonished. He had just wielded genuine magic. Before he could process it, a deadly attack struck him. The monster stood over his fallen body. The battle abruptly ended. His lifeblood seeped into the ground from a fatal wound. Noah's spirit rose from his body, commenting on his swift demise. He ascended, accepting this new death as a familiar end. A sudden thought made him pause, recalling his previous life and its aftermath. He found himself in the afterlife, an unexpected queue stretching before him. This endless line of souls seemed to extend into eternity. He was struck by something new, wondering if boredom warped his mind. Noah's gaze sharpened, a vivid memory of his life emerging. He remembered his life, a marriage and children he never truly had. Noah reflected on a peaceful old age that was never his reality. His only tangible achievement, a degree, now felt entirely useless. Despite everything, he cherished the moments of joy teaching music brought him. Yet even his beloved job came with hardships, forcing colleagues to cover for him. He felt all his struggles and efforts ultimately amounted to nothing. The endless procession of souls continued, overwhelming his senses. Step by step, his spiritual form climbed higher towards the light. The ascent felt like an endless, monotonous journey without end. Through ethereal clouds, the souls continued their slow, steady climb. Suddenly, Noah paused, sensing a powerful new presence above him. His hand instinctively reached towards a magnificent figure appearing before him. Noah gazed up in awe as the majestic being materialized fully. He knelt before an awe-inspiring entity, dwarfed by her presence. A celestial palace loomed, the divine figure standing at its radiant heart. The divine being addressed him, revealing knowledge of his identity and short life. She revealed the positive impact Noah had, comforting him immensely. The goddess affirmed his life was far from wasted, calling it well-lived. Overwhelmed, Noah stammered a question, wondering if she was God. She introduced herself as Renewal, a goddess governing reincarnation. Noah reacted with shock, realizing he would forget everything he knew. He clenched his fist, desperate to retain the memories of his students. Suddenly, a peculiar crack rent the divine realm, surprising even Renewal. The crack exploded with a powerful boom, shattering the celestial peace. A monstrous new entity suddenly emerged from the shattered rift. The explosion's force blasted Noah back, scattering debris everywhere. Noah questioned if such chaos was even possible in the afterlife. His gaze widened further, trying to identify the intruder. A sharp, ominous weapon then pierced through the dark energy. Noah finally saw the imposing figure wielding the weapon. The intruder then addressed Renewal with a chilling, possessive greeting. Renewal, undaunted, prepared for battle, knowing his previous defeats. Renewal retaliated, unleashing a powerful wave of floral energy. Her radiant energy clashed violently with his dark weapon. The force of her strike continued to push him back. Renewal landed a direct hit, causing the intruder to cry out. He was knocked back, crashing hard as Renewal stood her ground. The fierce battle continued to tear apart the divine realm. Noah, terrified, wondered what happened if one died in the afterlife. Realizing the world was literally crumbling, Noah decided to flee. The intruder quickly recovered, taunting Renewal about her efforts. Renewal, glaring fiercely, challenged him to get serious. With glowing eyes, the intruder eagerly accepted her challenge. The battle flared once more as Renewal swiftly dodged his powerful scythe. The intruder intensified his attack, unleashing a terrifying display of dark power. Renewal readied herself, while Noah lamented his constant state of waiting for a real life to begin. The intruder pushed his power further, as Noah's frustration mounted over endless delays. With the battle raging, Noah declared he was done waiting and would act for himself. Renewal unleashed a dazzling, powerful attack directly at the intruder. Noah was tossed violently by the sheer force of their clashing powers. He crashed into a cosmic ocean, disrupting the ethereal water. The impact generated a colossal wave, sweeping Noah deeper into the abyss. Lost and disoriented, he drifted aimlessly in the swirling, endless waters. As he drifted, ominous, dark, and golden energy began to seep into Noah. Noah began to ascend, realizing the true nature of his predicament. He looked up, his expression hardening with a newfound resolve. Deciding an eternal void was preferable to endless waiting, Noah plummeted back down. He plunged rapidly through the eerie, skeletal trees. Noah slammed into the ground, his ethereal form solidifying and changing. A man with a rough appearance gasped, returning to full consciousness. The man woke, naked and confused, surrounded by strange creatures in a fire. He looked around the unfamiliar forest, utterly bewildered by his new circumstances. Suddenly, one of the creatures lunged, biting deeply into his shoulder. Injured and bleeding, he desperately struggled against the relentless assault. The assault intensified, blurring Noah's vision as his consciousness wavered. From a fallen gourd, an ominous, dark energy began to spread. Nearby, a man in a blue coat coughed blood, gravely wounded by an unseen force. He gritted his teeth, determined to resist the overwhelming pain. Amidst fallen comrades, he desperately reached for the mysterious gourd, his gaze fixed upwards. A final look of desperation clouded his eyes. Miraculously, the man stood, his chest wound gone, golden power now radiating from his eyes. Cracking his knuckles, Noah declared his readiness to face whatever came next. He turned to confront the creature that had caused so much devastation. The beast's eyes glowed crimson, signaling its intent to attack. With a feral shriek, the creature launched itself directly at him. Noah effortlessly evaded the lunging beast, his new speed proving invaluable. He countered swiftly, landing a powerful strike that sent the creature reeling. A confident smirk played on Noah's lips as he sized up his opponent. Looking down, Noah calmly stated that the creature truly didn't understand. Enraged by Noah's words, the creature let out a piercing shriek. The monster attacked relentlessly, sending sharp slashes through the air. Noah weaved through a flurry of attacks, seemingly impervious to harm. Gathering his energy, Noah prepared to deliver a devastating final blow. With a single explosive punch, Noah ended the creature's assault decisively. A new cry for help echoed through the desolate plains, drawing the hooded figure's attention. The injured man, covered in blood, desperately pleaded for assistance. The mysterious figure quickly closed the distance, propelled by a unique golden board. The hooded figures questioned the injured man, who struggled to recall what happened. Vermil claimed only injury and total memory loss, blaming an absurd monkey attack. The two figures exchanged a suspicious glance, clearly unconvinced by Vermil's tale. Before they could react, Vermil urgently called out, stopping them in their tracks. He offered a golden badge, revealing his official title, Magus Vermil. "You teach at Arbitage?" the older figure asked, to Vermil's obvious confusion. They pondered what powerful creature could have caused such a severe injury and memory loss. The younger figure speculated it was likely a chucker responsible for the attack. The older figure grimly noted the creatures were growing disturbingly powerful, even against teachers. They offered Vermil a ride on one of their boards to return him to Arbitage. The older man introduced himself as Frederick, a friendly gesture of trust. Vermil cautiously stepped onto the board, still unsure about its safety. Frederick urged Vermil to hold on tight, not wanting a dead professor on his conscience. With a powerful surge, they launched into the air, swiftly heading toward Arbitage. As they approached Arbitage, Frederick wondered if Vermil's status as a professor would be recognized. Frederick considered the chilling possibility Vermil's attacker was someone he actually knew. Vermil realized he was no safer, surrounded by unknown dangers and forgotten enemies. Vermil's eyes widened in sudden alarm, the danger feeling much too real. Frederick announced their arrival at Arbitage City, home to a renowned runic academy. Students immediately welcomed Vermil back, confirming his status as a professor. Despite the danger, Vermil realized the academy offered a perfect chance to learn magic. While Frederick reassured him, Vermil worried his true identity might be discovered. Suddenly, a new figure appeared, demanding to know about Vermil's return. The man aggressively questioned Vermil's long absence, provoking a sharp response. Vermil quickly used his amnesia as an excuse for not knowing anything. The man acknowledged Vermil's injuries, then pressed him about their shared past. Annoyed, the man scoffed at Vermil's ignorance, unconcerned by his condition. The man introduced himself as Richard, a specialist in healing runes. Richard's glowing hand touched Vermil's chest, probing deep into his body. With a menacing smirk, Richard declared his intention to peer inside Vermil's mind. Richard found Vermil human, dismissing the blond man's concern with a casual joke. Richard concluded Vermil's mind was jumbled, finding his condition very odd. Vermil hoped his amnesia would fade, but privately feared Richard would see his deception. Richard, finished with healing, left Vermil's recovery to time, as Vermil suspected foul play. Richard thanked Frederick, taking charge of Vermil, while an unseen assailant prepared an attack. Richard led Vermil to a door with a sign clearly labeling it Magus Vermil. When Richard asked for a key, Vermil could only shrug, his memory still a blank. Richard decided to bypass the lock with his magic, forcing the door open. They stepped inside, revealing Vermil's study in utter disarray. Richard left, instructing Vermil to remain in the surprisingly unkempt chambers. Richard departed, a subtle, almost knowing expression lingering on his face. Vermil felt Richard knew more, now alone amidst the room's clutter. Vermil discovered the actual door key, left conspicuously on his desk. Vermil decided to sift through the chaotic documents for answers about himself. Vermil confirmed his role as a teacher, then found a note for a student. The discovered note revealed original Vermil's creepy intentions, infuriating him. He saw his class schedule, realizing he was expected to teach magic. Panic set in as he realized he knew nothing of the magic he must teach. Overwhelmed by his predicament, Vermil slumped forward in defeat. Suddenly, a series of urgent knocks interrupted Vermil's despair. Startled, Vermil looked up, wondering who could be at the door. A large, armored man named Braden burst in, relieved to find Vermil back. Vermil quickly explained his current memory loss, maintaining his facade. Braden showed concern, warning about the Linwicks, who'd demand his treatment. Braden offered a class substitute, but also suggested a deeper, intrusive examination. Vermil dreaded another mind probe, knowing Braden would soon depart. Desperate to avoid another mind scan, Vermil decided to face his class immediately. Braden reminded Vermil of his class location and the Linwick's high expectations. His parting words were a clear, unsettling reminder of the serious stakes involved. The door slammed shut, scattering Vermil's carefully organized documents once more. Among the fallen papers, Vermil noticed a chilling headline about face stealers. The article warned about strange behavior from colleagues and recent disappearances. A sudden, gruesome vision of dead, monstrous creatures and bodies flashed through Vermil's mind. It was followed by the disturbing image of a bloodied, unconscious man being dragged. The man lay helpless in a pool of blood, his ultimate fate completely uncertain. Pushing aside the horrifying visions, Vermil eventually found his way to Building G. Inside, the dilapidated building was eerily quiet as Vermil frantically ran, fearing tardiness. The confusing, overgrown campus had drained his energy, making him question his decision. Finally reaching room 100, Vermil found a dusty, abandoned classroom, seemingly untouched for years. The isolated room and complete lack of students heightened Vermil's growing sense of unease. With no class in sight, Vermil began searching the desolate room for anything useful. Suddenly, a faint tapping sound broke the silence, signaling someone was approaching. The door opened to reveal a white-haired student casually floating an orb of magic. Her piercing yellow eyes seemed to hold an intense, almost ancient focus. Vermil, still masking his true identity, awkwardly introduced himself as the new teacher. Before Isabel could respond, another student appeared, asking who she was speaking with. The new student claimed Vermil had never taught, as Vermil realized his pupils were adults. The students were clearly unimpressed, questioning Vermil's awareness of class time. Vermil collected himself, determined to win over these skeptical, chattering students. With an overly cheerful smile, Vermil awkwardly declared they would have an amazing class. Isabel, however, wasn't buying it, sharply demanding to know his true intentions. Vermil was caught off guard, clearly unprepared for such direct confrontation. The students muttered, noting that Vermil's strange behavior was unusual for him. Thinking quickly, Vermil feigned memory loss from a head injury to explain his oddness. Beneath the facade, Vermil was determined to extract all the answers he needed from them. Vermil learned the shocking truth. Only Todd and Isabel were assigned to his class. Accepting the minimal attendance, Vermil urged the two students to take their seats. The students scoffed, dismissing Vermil as merely a Linwick and questioning his ability to teach them. The real Vermil understood the sudden revelation of his family name implied significant power. Isabel proposed a deal, offering to stay out of Vermil's way for an automatic exam pass. Vermil refused, subtly suggesting he possessed valuable experience they clearly lacked. Isabel scoffed, completely dismissing his subtle hint of superior experience. Despite their defiance, Vermil asserted his authority, declaring he would teach them anyway. The students then hurled accusations, questioning if he would teach about seducing a past student. Enraged, Vermil roared for silence, demanding they show him respect as their teacher. Internally, the protagonist conceded the original Vermil was indeed a massive creep. Shaking off the past, Vermil decisively turned to the blackboard, announcing the topic of runes. As Vermil gestured towards the topic, the old blackboard dramatically crashed to the floor. Clearing his throat, Vermil refocused the class, asking his two students about the true nature of runes. Todd scoffed at the elementary question, finding it insulting that Vermil treated them like children. Todd confidently spouted a basic definition, believing he had provided the complete answer. Vermil silently wrote Todd's definition on the board, while his students suspected he had completely lost his mind. Vermil abruptly declared that neither of them truly understood what they were talking about. He pressed them further, explaining that he had asked for the essence of runes, not just their function. The students looked stunned, realizing their arrogant answers had completely failed to impress him. Isabel, confused by his unexpected criticism, finally asked Vermil for clarification. Internally, Vermil smirked, realizing his carefully laid trap had finally snared his arrogant students. He continued writing on the board, subtly correcting their incomplete understanding of runes. Vermil then explained that true mastery required understanding a tool's fundamental nature, not just its function. A subtle grin spread across Vermil's face, signaling his pleasure at their growing curiosity. His gaze sharpened, revealing a deep resolve to teach them properly, despite their initial resistance. The students admitted their ignorance, though Isabel still questioned the importance of such abstract knowledge. Calling Isabel's question fantastic, Vermal redirected the conversation to the broader capabilities of magic. Isabel confidently declared that magic could achieve absolutely anything, full of renewed arrogance. Vermil challenged her assumption, probing if she truly believed magic possessed no limitations whatsoever. Todd quickly interjected with a couple of known limitations, surprising even himself with the knowledge. The obvious visual further emphasized the crucial fact that magic simply could not bring back the deceased. Vermil affirmed the existence of magic's limits, stressing the importance of fundamental knowledge. But internally, Vermil contradicted their belief, knowing magic could indeed revive the deceased. He then declared that nobody truly understood runes, daring his students to question him. Vermil's hand suddenly moved towards his waist, poised to reveal something profound. Vermil dismissed anyone claiming absolute understanding, as he revealed intricate rune patterns from his book. Then, with fluid motions, he drew one of the mysterious runes onto the blackboard. His students stared, utterly stunned, as Todd gasped, "Is that your rune?" Vermil coolly confirmed it was a genuine rune, allowing their astonishment to build. Both students were utterly flabbergasted. He had simply drawn such a complex rune. He clarified the rune also appeared in his book, regretting the reveal almost instantly. His students remained baffled, questioning why he'd share such powerful knowledge so openly. Vermil justified his actions as a teacher's duty, then subtly prepared his next challenging question. He projected a fiery rune, revealing it as a lesser fire rune, complete with a rank. Vermil wrote lesser on the board, inviting them to explain the true meaning of the term. Todd, thoroughly exasperated, simply shouted that everything made it lesser. With a dramatic snap of his fingers, Vermil prepared to demonstrate his point. Todd then conjured a small flame, explaining lesser runes possessed weaker magic and control. The visible difference between lesser and greater runes was clearly their inherent power. Despite their name, Todd confidently declared lesser runes were far from weak. He then impressively unleashed a surge of fire, showcasing their potential. Vermil praised Todd's impressive display, but Todd was internally shocked by his own power. Vermil then shifted the lesson, emphasizing that seeking knowledge starts with acknowledging what you don't know. Todd suggested combining runes, but Vermil questioned his certainty, prompting Todd to admit he wasn't prepared for an interrogation. Vermil then assigned homework, telling them to investigate what truly makes up a rune for the next class. With an intense gaze, Vermil turned to Isabel, posing the most important question about how she accessed her runes. Isabel hesitated, vaguely explaining that she accessed her runes by imagining sinking into her soul. She silently wondered if her intuitive explanation held deeper implications she hadn't considered. Vermil then challenged them both to introspect, exploring how they accessed their runes, promising to do the same. Both students immediately began their introspection, attempting to understand their personal connection to runes. Even Vermil visibly strained, delving into the depths of his own runic connection. Inside his soul, Vermil realized this inner exploration was far more complex than it seemed. He found himself surrounded by familiar runes, recognizing them from his book. Vermil saw wind and fire runes, considering Todd's idea of combining them, despite his previous uncertainty. A powerful, unexpected surge overwhelmed Vermil, causing his eyes to glow intensely. An agonizing shock coursed through Vermil, racking his body with a mysterious purple energy. An immense 8th-rank rune explosively manifested behind him, leaving Vermil utterly stunned. This incredible, terrifying power reminded Vermil of someone he knew. The rune's immense power echoed the presence of an incredibly formidable figure from his past. A few hours after the intense class, Vermil found himself alone. Later, in his own quarters, Vermil carefully began experimenting with his runic abilities. Vermil struggled to control the new power, the strain visibly exhausting him. He quickly realized that even powerful magic had its inherent limits. To avoid unwanted attention, Vermil decided to move through the city discreetly. He hurried through the streets, hoping his haste would deter any interactions. Yet the whispers and stares of the other students confirmed his notoriety had already spread. He remembered a chilling note, a relic of Magus Vermil's past schemes. He then wondered if someone might try to finish the job on it. Vermil finally arrived at the impressive academy library, seeking answers. The heavy doors creaked open, revealing the library's interior. He stepped inside, immediately struck by the library's unexpected grandeur. This grand space far surpassed his own classroom, an unexpected discovery for Vermil. His gaze lingered on the restricted section, reserved only for professors. Approaching the desk, Vermil requested assistance in finding some books. He asked for basic rune books, unaware of the intense glare from a woman behind him. The woman, clearly acquainted with him, questioned his seemingly ridiculous request. She accused the Linwick family of decline, leaving Vermil bewildered by her identity. She demanded to know why he couldn't use his family's extensive resources for such simple information. Vermil calmly explained that using family resources for basic books would be inefficient, surprising her. The woman paused, apparently contemplating his unexpected response. Still, she slammed a book down, expressing little surprise that Vermil sought introductory texts. She scoffed at Vermil's pathetic rank, hinting at unknown capabilities within him. Moxie blasted Vermil, mocking his past, and leaving him reflecting on his awful reputation. A clank resonated as Moxie closed her eyes, seemingly done with her outburst. She continued, dismissing his past actions as an old hobby and poor taste. Vermil countered, claiming he now sought much better, respectable pastimes. Moxie simply scoffed, clearly unconvinced by his sudden declaration of change. She then launched into a harsh tirade, cementing Vermil's belief that she truly hated him. Vermil's thoughts then shifted to Moxie's obvious interest in the Face Stealer compendium. He finally put a name to her face, mentally noting Moxie. Vermil internally recognized her as a complete jerk. Considering his past, Vermil felt he deserved it, then wondered if she tried to kill him. Shaking off his thoughts, he decided to refocus on his primary task. He politely returned to his original purpose, asking the librarian about the requested books. Back in his own study, Magus Vermil continued his solitary research. He realized a deeper understanding of his own runes was absolutely essential. A nagging feeling told him his most massive rune was far from normal. Vermil realized drawing attention to his strange rune was foolish, then questioned his past simple ones. He pondered why his past self, from a powerful family, only had such crude, simple runes. Determined, he resolved to examine the unusual runes with renewed focus. He observed his known simple runes, while cautiously ignoring the massive magical anomalies surrounding it. Vermil discovered his wind runes, though similar, felt distinctly different in their energy capacity. He observed some runes appeared full of energy, while others felt strangely drained. Like a bucket, he wondered if he could simply refill a drained rune with more power. This immediately brought him back to the forest, realizing killing monsters recharged his runes. He deduced that different rune types also possess varying inherent capacities for magic, like different-sized buckets. Vermil was excited. His new goal was to fully power his runes and learn to combine them. He reflected that having a proper magical goal was far more satisfying than merely avoiding death. He concentrated and indeed felt one of his wind runes completely refilling with energy. Testing his newfound understanding, Vermil focused wind magic at a towering stack of papers. A smirk played on his lips as he anticipated the result of his experiment. To his astonishment, the concentrated wind had cleanly sliced the entire stack of papers. With a satisfied exhale, the potent wind magic dissipated from his hand. Vermil mused about wind magic's potential, even considering the possibility of flight once mastered. However, his other runes remained unresponsive, proving far more challenging to activate. Then, a practical idea struck him. Use his wind magic to clean up the messy room. What he thought would be simple proved unexpectedly cumbersome, as papers haphazardly flew about. After a somewhat successful cleanup, he clearly felt his wind rune draining with each use. His initial magical experiments concluded, Vermil considered the next step of his grand plan. All that intense research and magic use left him utterly exhausted. Nothing beats a relaxing warm bath after a long day of unraveling magical mysteries. Vermil noted the previous owner's surprisingly consistent fashion sense. His peaceful routine was abruptly interrupted by a loud bang at the door. Vermil paused, realizing someone was aggressively knocking on his door. He hoped they'd leave if he stayed silent, but the furious pounding proved otherwise. A horrifying thought struck him. What if his predecessor's killer had returned? In his panic, he couldn't remember if he had even locked the door. Before he could check, the door violently slammed open, revealing a shadowy figure. Vermil huddled behind the wardrobe, convinced this was the end. However, the mysterious intruder immediately slipped on Vermil's scattered research papers. Vermil cautiously peeked out, utterly bewildered by the sudden crash. He stared at the fallen figure, completely taken aback by the absurdity. He cautiously approached, checking her neck, only to find no pulse. Panic surged as Vermil realized he was now alone with a dead body. He feared being framed for murder, especially as heavy footsteps approached. Just then, another woman burst in, sword drawn, immediately misunderstanding the scene. Her eyes narrowed, ready to deliver swift justice to what she perceived as a culprit. Vermil tried to reason, acknowledging Moxie's animosity towards his past self. Moxie's unwavering gaze clearly showed she wasn't interested in explanations. He desperately pleaded for her to believe him, unable to finish his sentence. Moxie interrupted, declaring him the killer, as her sword crackled with green energy. Vermil frantically continued to deny any involvement, protesting the woman fell alone. His confusion deepened, realizing Moxie's accusation was based on something else entirely. Moxie dismissed his explanation as a joke, examining the body with peculiar interest. Vermil remained utterly baffled by Moxie's bizarre reaction to the scene. Moxie surprisingly complimented Vermil for somehow managing to kill the mysterious intruder. Vermil couldn't grasp why Moxie was acting so casually about a dead body. Moxie then asked for an explanation, revealing she didn't recognize the deceased woman either. Moxie scoffed, calling Vermil an idiot as she uncorked a small bottle. She conceded hypothetically to being an idiot before preparing to explain. Moxie finally revealed the creature was a dangerous monster known as a face stealer. Vermil stared at the deceased creature, processing the incredible revelation about its true nature. Moxie became furious, demanding to know why Vermil hadn't read the important warning. Vermil immediately recalled his chaotic room, realizing he'd indeed missed the vital warning. Moxie pressed him on how he knew to kill it, and Vermil sheepishly admitted it was an accident. Moxie declared him a lucky idiot, making herself comfortable as she drank the potion. Vermil questioned if the face stealer had stolen a body, to which Moxie carelessly said it was likely some maid. Vermil realized the implication of face stealers meant he needed to be more careful about past incidents. Moxie pondered why a face stealer, attracted to magic, was in Vermil's room, an unusual occurrence. Moxie then requested Vermil keep the incident quiet, fearing damage to her own reputation. Vermil smirked, seizing the opportunity to leverage Moxie's request for his own benefit. Moxie reacted with sheer disgust at Vermil trying to blackmail her. Vermil frantically backpedaled, trying to reframe his demands as simple questions after his memory loss. Realizing his mistake, Vermil could only humble himself and sincerely plead for information. Moxie finally relented, giving Vermil a strict 10-minute window to ask his questions. Vermil, sweating under pressure, acknowledged the severe time constraint Moxie imposed. Moxie created a protective barrier around them, emphasizing the world's inherent dangers. Moxie explained face stealers were new, but far from the most dangerous threat their world faced. She clarified that monsters also actively hunt humans, seeking their powerful runes in return. Vermil confirmed runes were energy gained from killing, which Moxie affirmed was a mutual exchange. Moxie then revealed master runes could be directly taken, showing Vermil small, seed-like objects. Moxie casually tossed the seed-like runes into the air, preparing to demonstrate their power. One of the runes landed on the ground, awaiting a transformation. Moxie demonstrated a rune's power, absorbing the face stealer while questioning Vermil's startling ignorance. Vermil internally admitted his memories were still incredibly fuzzy, causing his knowledge gaps. Vermil was utterly astonished by the revelation of how runes truly functioned. Moxie then completed the process, absorbing the face stealer's essence back into herself. Vermil realized Moxie possessed an insane ability, making him wonder about her full range of powers. Moxie then playfully insulted Vermil's intelligence before prompting him for his next question. Vermil, recalling his own unusual soul rune, immediately questioned Moxie about nearby monsters possessing master runes. Moxie silently reacted to the pointed question, a subtle tap indicating her contemplation. Moxie revealed that the strongest monsters possess enough power to level a city. She warned him the nearest, a Hell Reaver, was far beyond his current capabilities. Vermil questioned why existing records offered no methods for crafting runes. Moxie scoffed, indicating that crafting runes was an unprecedented and significant feat. She then sarcastically suggested his own grimoire of research likely held nothing useful. The mention of a grimoire piqued Vermil's interest, prompting him to investigate further. Moxie explained the core paradox. Runes store power, but also require power to begin. Vermil understood, comparing the need for an initial power infusion to jumping a car. Moxie added that combining runes was even more complex, with grave risks to one's soul. Vermil appeared disappointed, expecting a more thorough explanation than this. Moxie offered him a firm handshake, signaling their conversation was concluding. Moxie teased Vermil about more mundane concerns, eliciting a surprised reaction from him. Vermil outwardly expressed confidence, but mentally noted a rapidly expanding list of new research topics. Moxie then issued a serious warning, forbidding any mention of their recent face stealer encounter. She concluded with a veiled threat before abruptly leaving, the door closing behind her. Vermil observed the colossal structure, realizing this was the unexpected form of magical public transit. Vermil, unwilling to wait, began the arduous climb up the immense tower's numerous floors. The long climb clearly exhausted Vermil, leaving him thoroughly winded alongside other students. His tired, sweating face confirmed the significant physical toll of his ascent. Reaching the summit, a relieved Vermil was greeted by an attendant, addressing him as Professor. Vermil, still tired from the climb, expressed his immediate doubts about the transportation method. He then specified his destination, the perilous-sounding Scorched Acres. The attendant seemed surprised by his destination, subtly probing Vermil's motives. The attendant jokingly noted Vermil was using the cannon this time, ensuring his return in 24 hours. Vermil grimaced, admitting he learned that particular lesson the hard way last month. His eyes narrowed, a hint of concern lingering despite his lighthearted response. As the cannon glowed with energy, Vermil nervously sought reassurance about its safety. The attendant simply scoffed at his concerns, confident in the mechanism's reliability. With a shove from the attendant, Vermil hastily entered the cannon's launch chamber. The chamber door slammed shut, leaving Vermil with a sense of sudden isolation. The attendant's mischievous grin suggested a less than pleasant ride was ahead. As the cannon powered up with a loud rumble, Vermil frantically declared it unsafe. Trapped, Vermil could only hope his previous experience with death would bring him back again. The cannon fired with an immense boom, launching Vermil like a projectile into the sky. Moments later, Vermil arrived in a new location, the Grand Linwick Estates, under a starry night. Ornate fountains and classical architecture suggested a place of significant wealth and status. Inside, a man addressed Braden, who respectfully called him father. Braden, bearing scars on his face, reported that he had completed his task. His father, focused on a book, simply asked for further details about Vermil's behavior. He then noted Vermil's oddness as an improvement, which he surprisingly found displeasing. Braden suggested Vermil was nearing his mission's end, but his father quickly dismissed it. His father's words were chillingly clear. Vermil would serve his purpose. A chilling declaration that Vermil would serve, both in life and in death. Vermil plummeted through the sky, crashing hard into a desolate new landscape. Confused, Vermil wondered why he briefly stopped midair before a final, painful impact. Wiping his mouth, Vermil sarcastically scoffed at the idea of a safe landing. He surveyed the dead forest, noting its unchanged, desolate appearance from his last visit. Vermil calculated his remaining time, with only 4 hours before the cannon's return. He resolved to use this time to train, making these monstrous creatures learn to fear him. This deserted forest seemed ideal for practice, but Vermil had a crucial task first. With a swift movement, Vermil grabbed a branch and began climbing. He easily ascended the gnarled tree, settling onto a thick branch. Perched high, he patted his chest, searching for something important. He pulled out a mysterious black book adorned with a golden emblem. To maximize his power, Vermil knew selecting the right runes was essential. The book revealed an extensive collection, containing nearly 100 different runes. He quickly dismissed basic flame and plant runes, the latter reminding him of a past failure. The shadow rune also didn't appeal, deemed much too edgy for his style. Rejecting common elements, Vermil sought a unique rune that could utilize his earth knowledge. Then a sudden realization struck him. He was a music teacher, and that could be his unique advantage. Vermil realized his musical background could be the key to a new power. He began experimenting, using his understanding of vibrations to create earth-shaking effects. He pondered how to integrate this new vibration power, choosing to replace an existing wind rune. With focused intent, Vermil began shaping the raw energy for his unique rune. He carefully manipulated the glowing, ethereal strings, weaving them into a new design. The energy twisted and reshaped under his command, taking on a new form. The unstable energy shattered, forcing him to rebuild the rune from its fragments. Consulting his book, Vermil focused on rebuilding it into a more powerful form. With visible strain, he pushed through the final delicate stages of creation. A triumphant smile spread across his face as the new power coalesced. He had successfully formed a unique, intricate rune using his own knowledge. Landing softly on the ground, he prepared for the next step. His new rune lacked energy, so he decided to hunt down those pesky monkeys for revenge and power. He soon spotted 2 monkeys, one gruesomely devouring the other. Vermil called out, startling the creature from its macabre feast. The monkey snarled, but Vermil swiftly unleashed a powerful wind rune attack. The defeated monkey yielded surprisingly little energy for his newly formed runes. He would need to defeat many more of them if he wanted to properly charge his new power. From the treetops, Vermil spotted his next victims, an entire group of monkeys. A larger, more menacing monkey glared up, ready for the impending fight. Vermil prepared to face the monkey horde, anticipating a true challenge. However, he noticed something unsettling. These creatures appeared to be communicating. The thought of sentient monkeys briefly gave Vermil pause, but remembering his past defeat at their hands, quickly reignited his resolve. Vermil launched his attack, instantly striking down 2 smaller monkeys. He then provocatively questioned the enraged alpha about his fallen comrades. Vermil unleashed more rune attacks, yet the agile monkey managed to evade them. The powerful creature countered, sending Vermil stumbling to the ground. As the monkey loomed, Vermil recognized its attack pattern from his prior death. He predicted its next move, gathering his power with renewed confidence. Despite his prediction, Vermil's speed failed him, resulting in another swift, painful death. As the monkey began devouring his corpse, Vermil's soul recoiled in disgust. Vermil realized that after each death, a splitting headache prevented him from using magic. After exactly 12 hours, his headache subsided, confirming the duration of his magical impairment. Undeterred, Vermil prepared to face the monstrous creatures once more. He focused his attention on one of the smaller, less aggressive monkeys. Suddenly, the monkey shrieked, its eyes turning crimson in distress. With a terrified leap, the small creature fled into the dense forest. Vermil once again confronted the larger monkey, predicting its next grab attack. A confident smirk played on his lips as he anticipated its overhead strike. Vermil, anticipating its horizontal strike, prepared to deliver a counterblow. As the monkey moved, Vermil focused his energy, charging a powerful rune attack. Confident in his timing, Vermil unleashed his attack, certain it would strike first. His prediction proved correct as Vermil swiftly beheaded the monstrous creature. The monkey's lifeless body collapsed, its head rolling nearby. Vermil mused on the creature's predictable patterns, finding them surprisingly easy to exploit. The monster's spirit departed, leaving behind its defeated form. Returning from the desolate plains, Vermil found himself back in the bustling city. An older man greeted Vermil, beginning to inquire about his recent endeavors. Vermil appeared disheveled and exhausted, causing the old man to express immediate concern. Vermil quickly assured his friend he was unharmed, despite the apparent need for healing potions. The old man gave a knowing wink, hinting at Vermil's trials. Vermil offered a weary agreement, acknowledging his recent struggles. The old man expressed heartfelt relief at Vermil's survival, which Vermil gratefully accepted. Heading off, Vermil resolved to bring spare clothes for his next adventure. Vermil awaited his students in the classroom, soon joined by two late arrivals. Confused by a student's payment, Vermil wondered if he had missed a class cancellation. He learned class was actually yesterday, and they were simply using the empty room as a hangout spot. Apologizing for interrupting their hangout, Vermil suggested they hold a makeup class instead. He enthusiastically declared that learning together was the best way to spend their time. The students simply stared back at Vermil, a thick silence filling the classroom. Vermil cleared his throat, pushing past their awkward silence to continue. He inquired about their homework, only for the students to admit they couldn't solve it. Vermil simply shrugged, confessing he didn't know the answer either. His students paused in disbelief, surprised by their teacher's unusual transparency. Vermil explained that true understanding comes from independent discovery, not rote answers. The female student, however, couldn't grasp the value of such an open-ended task. Vermil clarified that the assignment's true purpose was simply to make them think. He then shifted the lesson to the critical topic of rune importance and ranking systems. Vermil explained that achieving the next rank involves combining all current runes into one powerful form. Successful combination meant handling more advanced runes of a higher rank. This process allowed general runes to evolve into specialized and more potent versions. However, failure could shatter one's runes, inflicting soul damage that takes years to heal. This grave risk meant proven rune combinations were highly guarded secrets. Vermil understood the gravity, realizing his family's vast rune collection might hold answers. He demonstrated the delicate manipulation required to work with these energies. Vermil then summarized the lesson, reiterating the fundamental principles they had covered. He likened runes to energy buckets, explaining how 7 smaller ones merge into a single, larger vessel. A confident smile spread across Vermil's face, satisfied with his explanation. The students nodded in understanding, finally grasping the complex magic system. A thoughtful silence fell over the students as the lesson concluded. The female student, however, couldn't help but comment on Vermil's surprising transformation. Vermil, unfazed, declared his satisfaction with his newfound, improved self. Even the male student agreed, finding Vermil's current persona surprisingly respectable. As the students started to leave, Vermil called out, remembering a final, important detail. He awkwardly confirmed the next class was scheduled for 2 days later. The female student playfully warned him to be on time for their next meeting. Vermil confidently declared that punctuality was now simply part of his new job. He then challenged them to prepare, promising more intense lessons to come. However, the effort quickly caught up to Vermil, leaving him utterly exhausted. He wondered if this exhaustion was a side effect of his powers, wishing for Webby. 2 days later, Vermil still struggled with the lingering headaches from using his magic. His growing paranoia intensified, fueled by the knowledge that Vermil's killer remained at large. Suddenly, his paranoia became a terrifying reality as he let out a shocked exclamation. He looked up at the window, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. But just as quickly, the threat vanished, leaving him to doubt his own eyes. He attributed it to fatigue, then decided to test his rune training from the previous days. Vermil extended his hand, beginning to channel his magical energy once more. He then tried to infuse the nearby desk with the vibrant pink energy, but the magic immediately backfired, inflicting a painful backlash that shook the entire desk. Vermil expressed his surprise, admitting he hadn't expected such a strong magical backlash. He realized his other runes worked perfectly, indicating a fundamental misunderstanding of ash magic. Suddenly, a critical realization struck him, sparking a new idea. He then prepared to test his theory, gathering items to create some ash. First, he lit a candle, providing the necessary flame for his experiment. With a determined smirk, Vermil carefully began burning the paper, creating his desired element. The paper quickly succumbed to the flame, turning to ash as he watched intently. Soon, a perfect pile of ash lay on the tray, ready for his next magical attempt. With a dramatic flourish, Vermil declared it was time for his grand magical reveal. He triumphantly realized that runes don't create elements, they merely control existing ones, changing his entire understanding. This fundamental rule applied to all runes, allowing him to easily manipulate the ash into shapes. Now understanding rune mechanics, Vermil pondered the power difference between greater and lesser runes. With newfound determination, he unleashed a greater ash rune, sending a powerful burst across the room. The ash rune demonstrated immense power, forcefully sweeping the entire desk setup aside. The unexpected force caused a nearby bottle to crash, splashing water that extinguished the candle. Observing the aftermath, he concluded the greater rune's destructive power was surprisingly limited. He questioned why this greater ash rune lacked the cutting power demonstrated by wind magic. He deduced the difference was in stored energy, realizing the original Vermil favored many weaker runes for easier use. Vermil felt relief that he hadn't discarded more wind runes, recognizing their crucial combat potential. Despite his new understanding, the true nature of his mysterious pink vibration magic still eluded him. Vermil stared up at the source of his mysterious pink vibration magic. The unusual magic pulsed around him, sparking a new idea. A powerful unknown rune manifested above him, yet he didn't understand its function. Despite the warning, Vermil felt a dangerous curiosity compel him forward. He boldly reached out, intending to make contact with the mysterious rune. His fingers neared the pulsating energy, ready to test its limits. With an intense gaze, Vermil considered how he might decipher its secrets. Just a single touch, he thought, could unlock its hidden potential. The instant his hand met the rune, a brilliant flash erupted. Powerful energy surged through him, his eyes glowing with heightened magic. The shattered rune fragmented the world, revealing a new figure amidst the ruins. Vermil recognized the imposing chained figure, questioning if this was a vision or reality. In this surreal space, the figure stood poised, weapon in hand, before a chained opponent. The creature's blade thrashed violently, unleashing a devastating attack. With incredible speed, the cloaked warrior deftly parried a powerful incoming strike. Amidst the destruction, the warrior manipulated glowing runes, sparking Vermil's intense observation. The warrior summoned multiple runes, seemingly for insectoid armor, puzzling Vermil with their purpose. Vermil eagerly wondered if he could memorize and replicate such powerful runes. The warrior shockingly shattered the rune, leaving Vermil bewildered by the act. No, Vermil realized, the warrior hadn't destroyed it, but rather split its essence. Vermil understood the rune's purpose: to sunder, to split apart. This power allowed for the complete separation of essences. He saw the warrior effectively splitting monsters into their base components. This powerful ability could dissect creatures, revealing their core elements. Crucially, it could even unravel other runes, not just living beings. Vermil realized this wasn't just a vision. He, too, could split runes. Normally, combining runes was like baking a cake, irreversible once mixed. Once combined, their components were forever fused together. But his newfound power changed everything about that conventional wisdom. He could perfectly unmake combinations, retrieving pristine ingredients. This incredible ability granted him infinite, risk-free rune experimentation. His moment of revelation was abruptly interrupted by the realization of the time. For now, mastering Sunder would have to wait. He was already late. The sheer power of the rune had nearly overwhelmed him. He knew he needed far greater strength to fully wield such power. Nevertheless, he now possessed a master key to unique magical combinations. Locking his door, Noah reminded himself of the importance of security. His arrival was met with a stern reminder of his tardiness. Noah entered, ready with excuses for his notorious punctuality problem. The students, eager and impatient, demanded to know the day's lesson. This confident sorceress casually dismissed her opponent's posturing. Her glowing blade met an explosive, fiery attack head-on. The intense battle demanded significant effort from her opponent as well. Despite the strain, she prepared to unleash a powerful counterattack. Noah watched as the two students engaged in a fierce magical spar. Both combatants wore special shield badges designed to absorb magical damage during training. The fiery student challenged, but his opponent simply scoffed at his bravado. Their heated verbal exchange continued, the female student even mentioning Vermil's presence. Impatient for action, he ignited magical flames around his hand, ready to fight. Noah observed his opponent's glowing rings, noting the unusual source of his fire magic. The confident female student responded, gathering shimmering blue energy in her own hand. Noah, perplexed, questioned how they wielded powerful magic without visible runes appearing. The fiery student unleashed a punch, meeting his opponent's defensive blade with an explosive impact. The force of her block sent the fiery student stumbling backward, disrupting his momentum. Regaining composure, the female student taunted, criticizing Todd's lack of precision in battle. Todd glared back, igniting a focused ring of fire to demonstrate his precision. Todd launched a powerful, concentrated fire blast, forcing his opponent to swiftly evade the explosion. The female student acknowledged the effectiveness of Todd's precise attack, noting its impact. Todd pressed his advantage, immediately unleashing another fiery blast at his opponent. Her blade shattered, blocking the next strike, and Todd's magic connected directly. But instead of falling back, she seized the opening and rushed him. Todd cursed, clearly caught off guard by her sudden counterattack. His opponent materialized a new blade midair, declaring him vulnerable. Todd immediately brought up his arms, meeting the materialized blade with his flames. His shield badge flared, absorbing the blow, but Todd could feel her overwhelming power. The defensive shield badge visibly cracked under the immense magical impact. Todd cursed again as the impact rattled him through the cracking shield. Lingering magical energy sizzled around Todd's hand, marking the fight's intensity. Todd lay defeated on the ground. His opponent mockingly declared her victory. Still reeling, Todd argued about her win, claiming she dropped her weapon earlier. She furiously insisted it was intentional, prompting Noah to interject with a clearing of his throat. Their heated argument continued, completely ignoring Noah's attempt to get their attention. Noah gave a louder cough, finally making both combatants realize he was there. Vermil clapped, praising their performance and revealing his initial low expectations for their magic. He admitted his relief, realizing his worries about their upcoming exam were unfounded. The students exchanged nervous glances, questioning if Vermil truly intended for them to take the exam. Vermil casually questioned their objection, while his student furiously reminded him of their original deal. As the students pleaded, Noah silently fumed, realizing Vermil had been open to bribery. Vermil callously dismissed their deal, causing the students to panic about facing a deadly exam. Noah, disturbed by the mention of death, now desperately needed to understand this exam's true nature. Isabel revealed the exam required them to kill a monstrous slasher. Noah imagined the terrifying monkey-like creature he was expected to kill. Noah, still blinking, dismissively questioned if that was all. Isabel was furious, but Todd confidently claimed slashers were predictable. Isabel angrily accused Vermil of having cheated his own way through exams. Vermil casually countered, revealing he had personally killed many slashers. The students scoffed, accusing him of only defeating slashers with family intervention. Vermil longed for respectful students, but resolved not to let them fail again. Vermil set a new condition. They would train for weeks, with cheating allowed only if truly necessary. Todd trembled with fear, feeling sick at the thought of actual slasher training. Despite Todd's panic, Isabel boldly accepted Vermil's challenging deal. Isabel reasoned they needed to get stronger and set a deadline for Vermil's training. Vermil smirked, fully agreeing with Isabel's pragmatic assessment of the situation. Vermil demonstrated his formidable skill, effortlessly slicing a slasher in half. He calmly wiped his hands clean after dispatching 3 slashers consecutively. Vermil reflected on his newfound power, easily killing slashers now. He walked through the forest, a spiral of magic forming on his fingers. Vermil speculated that a stronger drill sergeant slasher must be nearby. A large, glowing rock suddenly hurtled through the air toward him. Without warning, the projectile violently impacted Vermil's face. The powerful blow sent Vermil crashing down, surrounded by dark magic. The powerful drill sergeant slasher immediately moved in to finish him off. This monstrous creature showed no mercy, ready to rip its prey apart. It savored Vermil's blood, seemingly mocking its fallen opponent. But as the slasher bit into him, Vermil's magic began to react uncontrollably. The immense pain caused Vermil's spiritual form to tear from his body. Even as a spirit, Vermil suffered agonizing pain from the slasher's attack. The slasher consumed his essence, leaving Vermil to question his continued agony. Meanwhile, the unconscious students were discovered by a smaller, curious slasher. Todd immediately pushed Isabel to fight, reminding her of her earlier bravado. Isabel accepted the challenge, powering up her sword with newfound resolve. She eyed the small slasher, ready to prove her strength in combat. The small creature hung from a branch, awaiting Isabel's attack. Todd nervously observed, expecting Isabel to dispatch the slasher effortlessly. She prepared her attack, gathering magical energy into her hand. Isabel launched herself forward, striking with a swift, powerful lunge. However, her attack missed, causing the slasher to shriek in surprise. The creature's eyes turned red as it let out a furious, powerful screech. With another swift motion, the slasher was brutally cut down. Isabel stood victorious, earning a surprising compliment from an unseen observer. The unseen observer revealed himself, having just dispatched the slasher with a mysterious attack. He criticized Isabel, remarking she should try reacting to the creature's attacks next time. Isabel snapped back, claiming the creature almost killed her, but he attributed her struggle to low confidence. Todd defended their inexperience, stating they couldn't afford expensive shields like wealthier students. Linwick questioned their assumptions, suggesting he didn't possess any special protective shield. Isabel insisted he must have a shield because of his family, the Linwicks. Linwick gripped his coat, preparing to challenge their assumption directly. He dramatically removed his cloak to prove he had no hidden shield, much to their surprise. Shocked, his students called him foolish for venturing out without any protective gear. Linwick shrugged off their worries, reminding them that attacking was their whole thing. Todd grew increasingly anxious, fearing a slasher attack without a shield would mean their demise. Linwick smirked, realizing they expected him to use a shield to buy them escape time. Todd's affirmation was cut short as a terrifying howl echoed through the trees. Both students froze in terror, realizing another slasher had appeared nearby. Linwick, however, remained calm, declaring this the perfect opportunity for their first field lesson. A much larger slasher tore through a tree, its claws demonstrating immense destructive power. Linwick stepped forward, glowing with power, and instructed his terrified students to watch closely. He faced the colossal beast alone, jokingly adding that this demonstration would be on their exam. The massive slasher launched itself forward, kicking up debris with its powerful leap. It roared defiantly, charging with incredible speed and raw aggression. Linwick deflected the slasher's brutal attack, explaining their predictable combat patterns. He effortlessly dodged another swing, emphasizing that prediction was crucial. Linwick smirked, confident in his ability to anticipate the beast's next move. As the slasher missed, Linwick powered up, declaring that victory was possible. He unleashed a concentrated strike, landing a devastating blow directly onto the slasher. His fists smoked, the force of his attack evident in the residual energy. Isabel and Todd watched in disbelief as Linwick actually defeated the monstrous slasher. Linwick walked past the fallen beast, reiterating his point about avoiding hits over relying on a shield. Both students remained thoughtful, clearly processing the professor's powerful demonstration. Todd eagerly volunteered to fight next, but Isabel quickly countered, insisting it was her turn. Linwick, enjoying their rivalry, announced it was his turn to demonstrate once more. Linwick snapped his fingers, revealing he was teaching them a specific attack pattern, not just instincts. Following Linwick's instructions, Todd erupted with fire, launching a powerful attack at another slasher. Isabel closed her eyes, focusing her power as her sword began to glow with a sharp blue light. With precision, Isabel unleashed her own glowing blade, slicing through the air with deadly accuracy. Both Todd and Isabel stood victorious over their defeated slashers, having executed their attacks flawlessly. Todd proudly recounted his success, prompting Linwick to explain that fighting without a shield would make them stronger later. Linwick emphasized the strategic advantage their newfound skills would give them over other shield-reliant fighters. Todd accepted the lesson, but Isabel then questioned Linwick about his family's financial support and his spending habits. Linwick looked utterly bewildered by the mention of family support, as if the concept was foreign to him. Isabel quickly assumed Linwick was foolishly spending his family's money on dangerous battles without a shield. Linwick clarified his intent, stating he simply did not fear death, a concept Todd found baffling. He elaborated, explaining that while fear offers safety, it also prevents necessary risks and growth. Linwick concluded, asserting that he uses his understanding of death to his advantage. Suddenly, Todd pointed past Linwick, alarmed by something emerging from the landscape. Linwick, still unseeing, questioned Todd, confused by his sudden, urgent tone. His eyes widened in shock as he finally comprehended the looming danger. Before them stood a powerful chucker, an enemy that shouldn't appear this close to civilization. Linwick recognized the chucker, its ferocious roar confirming the immediate and unexpected threat. Realizing the immense danger, Linwick frantically ordered his students to immediately retreat. Isabel hesitated, but Todd pulled her away, while Linwick prepared for a battle he knew might be fatal. Linwick reassured them, but knew his survival was crucial for the students' future safety and success. Linwick dodged, but realized with horror that the chucker's attack was not even aimed at him. Instead, the powerful energy blast struck Todd, who bravely shielded Isabel from the deadly impact. Both students stared in stunned silence, barely processing the sudden, terrifying attack. Linwick threw himself forward, taking the full force of the devastating blast to protect his students. The impact violently launched Linwick backward, leaving him critically wounded and bleeding profusely. Blood poured from his mouth as Linwick desperately fought to maintain consciousness. Isabel struggled against Todd, determined to rush back and aid the gravely injured professor. Ignoring Todd's pleas, Isabel broke free and ran back towards the fallen professor, screaming his name. Isabel stared, splattered with Linwick's blood, as Todd desperately tried to pull her to safety. Linwick, bleeding and enraged, confronted his students for disobeying his clear order to run. Todd forcefully pulled Isabel away, trying to compel her retreat from the immediate danger. As his students finally fled, Linwick turned to confront the chucker alone. Linwick considered the dire cost of his unique ability, possibly losing his magic upon revival. He decided that protecting his students was worth any sacrifice, even his own magical power. Empowered by his unique ability, Linwick declared he would defeat the chucker, no matter the cost. The chucker lunged with immense force as Linwick prepared a counterattack. Linwick unleashed twin torrents of energy, clashing directly with the chucker's brutal assault. Even with his multiple lives, Linwick realized this battle was draining him fast. He winced in pain, questioning how he could possibly defeat such a powerful foe. Linwick stood his ground, observing the chucker, preparing for the next phase of their battle. The chucker retaliated, effortlessly crushing rock to display its immense physical strength. Linwick's expression changed as he formulated a desperate, risky new strategy. Linwick was violently thrown back by an unseen force, confirming his opponent's new ability. With a defiant smirk, Linwick revealed his intention to become intangible, taunting the chucker. His power spread outwards, causing the very ground to rumble and shake violently. The ground convulsed so fiercely that small creatures were violently shaken from trees. Todd urged Isabel to keep running, unaware that the tremors were a result of Linwick's fight. Enveloped in dust, Linwick declared he could fight without sight, having learned his foe's nature. The chucker unleashed a furious roar, reacting violently to Linwick's declaration. Even without sight, Linwick's intuition allowed him to land a precise hit. The powerful blow sent the chucker reeling back through the dust and chaos. Linwick, maintaining his confident smirk, began to reveal his theory about the creatures. He landed another strike, explaining their uniform attacks and mysterious omnipresence. Linwick connected the dots, declaring the chucker was being controlled by an external force. The chucker reacted with violent desperation, smashing its fists against the ground. Exhausted, Linwick declared the battle was nearing its decisive end. With his new understanding, Linwick launched a sweeping energy attack to finish the fight. Suddenly, the chucker's eyes glowed with an intense, ominous new power. To Linwick's shock, the chucker miraculously dodged his finishing blow. The empowered chucker retaliated instantly, unleashing a barrage of deadly projectiles. Linwick was overwhelmed, absorbing a devastating volley of energy blasts. The brutal assault sent Linwick flying, crashing hard against a tree. Severely wounded, Linwick could only question how his enemy had suddenly gained such power. The chucker advanced menacingly, ready to finish off the severely injured Linwick. In a final act of defiance, Linwick desperately tried to conjure one last spell. Before he could act, the chucker effortlessly seized Linwick by the throat. Linwick's final thoughts were of his students, hoping he had bought them enough escape time. The chucker held Linwick's defeated form aloft, declaring its decisive victory. The chucker's fiery gaze consumed Linwick, as its victory seemed assured. But even in defeat, Linwick clung to one last desperate hope for his students. Defying the odds, Linwick activated a hidden rune for a final, desperate gamble. The chucker recoiled in shock as Linwick's last-ditch effort activated. A blinding surge of energy erupted from Linwick, forcing the chucker back. Countless shadowy spikes instantly pierced the chucker, inflicting heavy damage. The chucker collapsed, critically wounded and utterly bewildered by Linwick's final attack. Linwick, barely conscious, acknowledged his victory despite his own grievous wounds. As the dust settled, Linwick confirmed his victory over the powerful chucker. Exhausted and injured, Linwick sought to cleanse himself after the brutal encounter. Luckily, Linwick had strategically stashed spare clothing during his prior training sessions. His old clothes were ruined, but Linwick quickly changed into a fresh outfit. Now recovered and redressed, Linwick immediately set out to locate his missing students. He worried for their safety, but was relieved they had escaped as instructed. Despite his exhaustion, Linwick trusted his students' survival skills until extraction. Linwick finally succumbed to exhaustion, just as the transport cannon began its recall. The transport cannon returned Linwick to safety, surprising an assistant who thought he was dead. His students were equally shocked, questioning how Linwick survived such a devastating attack. Linwick downplayed his miraculous survival, crediting luck and numerous healing potions. His students remained unconvinced, noticing his clothes were miraculously mended despite his explanation. Linwick's intense concentration was suddenly broken by an unexpected distraction. He quickly attempted to steer the conversation away from his suspicious mended clothes. Linwick, clearly stressed, abruptly dismissed class, leaving his students bewildered by his reaction. With a dismissive wave, Linwick swiftly departed, needing some time alone. Even back in the bustling city, exhaustion weighed heavily on Linwick's mind and body. He pondered the dangerous truth. His inability to die could become a crippling curse, yet an even more terrifying reality was beginning to consume his every waking moment. Linwick's eyes betrayed a profound mental strain, his grip on reality wavering. He was seeing monstrous entities emerge from every shadow, a terrifying, persistent hallucination. His hallucinations were so vivid, he could barely distinguish them from real creatures around him. A massive, real creature bumped into him, its size and presence undeniable. Linwick looked up, surprised and confused by the unexpected physical contact. The creature revealed itself as a man, angrily scolding Linwick for his inattentiveness. In a sudden, desperate moment, Linwick attacked. Still seeing the man as a terrifying monster, Linwick's powerful punch shattered the man's protective energy shield, sending him flying backward. The force of the blow launched the man high into the air, a devastating display of power. Linwick's students witnessed the entire shocking incident, questioning their professor's sudden brutality. The horrifying realization struck Linwick. He hadn't attacked a monster, but an innocent student. The student's personal defensive shield, a fucker model, lay shattered from the impact. The injured student demanded answers, utterly baffled by the professor's unprovoked, shield-shattering attack. Linwick struggled to explain himself, while the furious student threatened retaliation. A powerful new presence arrived, instantly commanding attention and interrupting the confrontation. Professor Silvertide appeared, chastising the student for breaking his shield so quickly. The injured student detailed Linwick's shocking and unprovoked attack to Silvertide. Silvertide cut him off sharply, seemingly unimpressed by his tale. Linwick worried about his future and family, while Tyler feared Silvertide's wrath. Silvertide observed Linwick's combat-hardened eyes, explaining his fierce, instinctual reactions. Linwick, still confused, emphatically denied being a soldier. After some prodding, Linwick revealed his true identity, Professor Vermeil. Silvertide commanded Tyler to apologize to Professor Vermeil for his disrespect. Humbly, Tyler apologized to Professor Vermeil, offering his broken shield. Despite the apology, Vermeil was instantly overwhelmed by another painful mental episode. As they departed, Silvertide remarked on Vermeil's interesting nature, leaving him behind. Vermeil actively distanced himself from the crowd, his distress evident. Alone, Vermeil succumbed to his mental anguish, questioning his very sanity. He resolved to uncover the truth behind his terrifying condition, no matter the cost. Suddenly, a horrifying revelation stopped him in his tracks. A monstrous, fiery eye materialized before him, causing him to gasp. He instantly recognized the eye, realizing it was the source of his debilitating hallucinations. Vermeil confronted the infernal beast, accusing it of inflicting his soul's torment. A mysterious figure arrived to investigate Vermeil's recent strange behavior. He was also apparently capable of using strange, glowing magic. Vermeil awkwardly insisted his behavior was merely a misunderstanding. The man warned Vermeil that his father's attention was unwelcome and dangerous. As the door started to close, Vermeil quickly stopped it. The man unexpectedly gave Vermeil a small pouch, which he gratefully accepted. He sternly warned Vermeil to pick up his own deliveries and leave him out of his father's schemes. Vermeil carefully examined the sparkling pouch in his hand. He wondered about the true value of the mysterious contents. Several days later, two students impatiently waited in a classroom. The female student nervously bit her nails, clearly anxious. The other student also tapped his foot, restless. They worried if Professor Vermeil was still recovering and would even show up. Suddenly, Professor Vermeil dramatically soared through the sky on a magical board. He landed with precision on the roof, surveying his path down. The students below looked up, stunned by his sudden appearance. Vermeil yelled down for them to stand back as he prepared to fly directly through the ceiling. He wobbled slightly at the edge, then declared he was coming down. With a massive crash, Vermeil landed, sending debris and dust everywhere. The coughing students expressed concern for his safety, questioning his dramatic entrance. Vermeil proudly declared his flying sword was a blast, despite the destructive landing. The male student was unimpressed, calling it the cheapest flying sword ever. Suddenly, Vermeil received a surprising bouquet of flowers and a card. The students gratefully presented the flowers, explaining it was for saving them. The simple card rested among the vibrant orange roses. The card contained heartfelt thanks from Isabel and a crude but earnest drawing from Todd. Overwhelmed, Vermil became teary-eyed, deeply moved by his student's genuine appreciation. Perhaps this heartfelt gratitude was Vermil's true reward for his unconventional methods. Then Vermil surprised them again, producing a grimoire and acknowledging their resource limitations. He then declared that they now possessed the resources of a noble house, handing them the grimoire. The students were horrified, realizing Vermil was giving them his family's grimoire, containing forbidden Linwick runes. Vermil, however, confirmed it was a serious promise, pledging to help them with everything he had. Todd was ecstatic, but Isabel immediately warned Vermil his family would kill him for sharing their secrets. Vermil casually shrugged off the danger, instructing them to replace a lesser rune with a greater one. Todd excitedly cheered for greater runes, while Isabel pondered why Vermil continuously risked himself for them. The students debated rune choices and the cost of such gifts, which Vermil admitted families usually paid for. Vermil simply dismissed their concerns as mere semantics, clearly unbothered by the distinction. With a final instruction to hide the grimoire, Vermil dramatically flew off, leaving the students behind. He ascended through the hole he created, leaving his stunned students amidst the classroom's rubble. The students watched him disappear, reflecting on his bizarre nature and the dangers he constantly faced. Meanwhile, at the academy, the daily lessons continued for its students. A professor struggled to manage the heavy load of academic materials. She carefully made her way down the long, empty hall. Suddenly, she stopped, questioning an unexpected presence in the quiet corridor. To her disbelief, Vermil was casually sitting in her classroom, declaring he'd come to watch her teach. Her face twisted with speechless fury at his audacious and unannounced presence. Vermil boldly stated he was there to learn how to properly teach his own students. Professor Torn, calling his behavior insane, grudgingly allowed him to stay, but only if he remained silent. Just then, another student arrived, her footsteps echoing in the tense room. Professor Torn quickly instructed Emily to ignore Vermil, downplaying his unsettling presence to the student. Emily silently took her seat, seemingly unfazed by the strange classroom dynamic. Professor Torn immediately began class by chastising Emily for her poor exam performance, citing her Torn family duty. Emily merely sighed, dismissing the exam content as boring and unimportant. Professor Torn retorted that the knowledge was crucial for a noble to properly understand others and themselves. Professor Torn, furious, pointed out Emily's abysmal exam performance, including blank answers on rune questions. Emily shrugged off her failure, stating her powerful grandmother could simply provide rune combinations. The professor exploded, incredulous that Emily failed to identify one of the 4 great noble families. Emily confidently listed 3 noble families, believing she had correctly identified them all. Professor Torn grudgingly identified Vermil's own Linwick family as the missing great house, despite her disdain. Professor Torn declared the Linwicks enemies, stressing that understanding opponents was a crucial part of noble duty. Professor Torn internally recognized Emily's arrogance mirrored Vermil's own perceived flaws. Meanwhile, Emily reacted with a dramatic groan, entirely disengaged from the discussion. Vermil, still observing, found himself contemplating the true essence of learning. After class, Professor Torn confronted Vermil, demanding to know why he hadn't left. Vermil, still reflecting, thanked the professor, claiming the experience had been truly enlightening. Professor Torn was surprised, but Vermil quickly clarified he simply gained a different perspective on the lessons. Professor Torn paused, admitting she might have misjudged him earlier by calling him insane. Instead, she now believed his unconventional approach had actually been improved by her class. As Professor Torn walked away, Vermil quietly watched her disappear down the hall. He then admitted to himself that he actually found her quite likable. Suddenly, he heard 2 sets of footsteps steadily approaching from behind. Before he could react, Edward roughly shugged him, calling him an idiot. Vermil quickly apologized from the floor, but Magus Allen sternly warned Edward against associating with such an embarrassment. Vermil blinked in stunned surprise, taken aback by the unexpected hostility. He quickly understood their personal insult must be directed at his true identity, Vermil,